Chapter 2. We began. It was later that I learned that the operation schedule had gone awry when our landing boat, our pink lips, tiny by all Space Force standards, kissed the atmosphere of Gloak Planet for the first time. But then, at 7G overload, listening to the roar of the demons of death, what could I know? What could I know when I had even forgotten my own name out of fear? Then the stimulant took effect. Oh, I am a tiger. I am an eagle. I am a barracuda. Barracuda, yes. Surge barracuda, super barracuda, mega barracuda, barracuda forever. I probably started singing. At least my mouth was wide open, and very foolishly so. My teeth clattered so hard that half my tongue could have been left on the viewing glass. Let's go! Oh, how beautifully the landing craft unfolds, like a lily bud or some other rose. The ceramic plates rose, some folding like an accordion, others turning and twisting and stretching upward on either side, like petals. At the same time, rocket launchers, our immediate cover, shot up on telescopic masts and oriented themselves to the cardinal points. Then 6 sections of the landing compartment swung out from inside the pink leaps, and we all scattered into the nearby emerald grass with an exotic bluish glint. It took less than 5 standard seconds. Around us, at a respectful distance, fire was already raging. Grand layers of mature turf, carved out by ground explosions, rose into the air, losing shreds of burning grass as they flew. They turned over. They fell apart into pieces. They crumbled into dust. So the rocket launchers hadn't detected any enemies in the immediate vicinity and were firing standard barrage fire, just in case. The gliders automatically turned on and adjusted to the height of the local grass. I discovered that our entire platoon was hovering about a meter above the tallest shots of the local dandelions, which had such fluffy seeds that they could be used to make parachutes for Hermanches and other Lilliputian pseudo-humanoid races. I was dangling there with the rest of them, like a piece of shit. Gliders -5, ordered the lieutenant. The whole platoon heard him, but the sergeants repeated the order anyway. Reasonable. Even I, a rookie, understood that it was reasonable. Dandelions grew quite rarely here. Despite the impressive size of this wild grass, I wouldn't say that it was particularly strong. Before my eyes, Chen Silent knocked off the head of one of the dandelions with a lazy swing of his glider. It seems that even at high speed, collisions with these dandelions are not dangerous. For us, that is. But for the local flora, I am sorry. So we all move 5 meters down. The lower we go, the better our chances. Otherwise, the Crovern fast-firing machine gun drone, known as Dragonfly, will strike. The rocket launchers stopped firing and froze in alertness. Far away beyond the horizon, things were getting serious. Judging by the flashes, the grand space fleet was at work. Frigates or even bigger. Look to the right, gentlemen. Look to the left. Look anywhere you want. The 7th Squadron is conducting a planned fire operation to isolate Zone L. Not even the Crovern's worm tanks will be able to break through such a furnace. Sergeant Goosesack was on a roll. I wonder if experienced soldiers also get stimulants, or are they already pumped up without any stimulants out of habit? An order just came in from the HQ, said the lieutenant. Proceed according to plan. Alpha Squad will deploy on the right flank and move in a scythe formation, course 205, speed 150. Beta Squad will deploy on the left flank, front formation, course 200, speed 150. The fire section follows closely behind the Beta Squad. Begin movement on my command. Open fire either on my order or in response to fire from the Croverns. Shoot only at clearly distinguishable targets. It's going to be a long day. Understood? Understood? Understood. For some it will be a long day, and for others, until the first Crovern termite. Soon we were racing forward, leaving behind us a trail of destruction left by rocket launchers. Anti-gravity boots, also known as gliders, carried us into the damned unknown. And although this unknown looked like a savanna flooded with orange rays of sunlight, my heart was still pounding. To be honest, I would have preferred to be in the fire section, behind Sergeant Felix's monsters from the Beta unit, the very ones with the otherworldly rattles, Zombie, El Diablo, Kruger, Deadman. But unfortunately, despite all my cheating on the test, I still ended up with an elevated general development coefficient. Added to that was a double aggression rating, and that meant that fucking number GAI7039 was worthy of an honorable place in the fucking Alpha Suicide Squad. Alpha is always ahead. Alpha is the best. Alpha strikes first. Unless the treacherous enemy strikes the shooters of the fire section and the Beta squad from behind. But that rarely happens. And that's why soldiers from the Alpha squads account for 70% of the losses of any platoon. Not bad, right? At this speed, the landscape doesn't have time to get boring. We crossed the plain with dandelions in a few minutes. Huge parachute seeds fell heavily into the grass behind us, and we had already jumped over a ridge of treeless hills. I gasped with delight. No doubt about it, it was beautiful. I remember a billboard I saw last year. You will be taken to a beautiful place. You will be given weapons. You will meet friends. You will be free. The army is freedom. The propaganda lied. The army is hard labor. There will be no friends. Sergeants will choose for you, but they will still take you to a beautiful place, a lake, and not a small one. It stretched left and right almost to the horizon. Several orange shells were visible on the opposite shore. Geodetic station, I remembered. Fortunately, it was easy to remember. The Militum's navigation subsystem regularly commented on the terrain. In full accordance with the database and the information coming from the onboard sensors and external sources via the operational headquarters, battalion, company, platoon channel. My exo-armor's computer saw the terrain no worse, and perhaps even better, than I did myself. But the geological research station is nonsense. The main thing is the forest. The trees with their spreading flat crowns, 70 meters high, reminded me of a picture that I had dug up in my grandfather's junk. I think it belonged to an artist from the early development era, but maybe I'm confusing it with the early Renaissance. The picture showed exactly the same forest. Even the angle and lighting seemed familiar to me. Back then, as a child, I almost cried. I had never seen anything more beautiful before. Except for girls, of course. The girls at our kindergarten were very pretty. They were like sex mutants. My sexual awareness awakened when I was about 5. But perhaps the forest was even more beautiful than my classmates. At least in my memory, everything is mixed up. Michelle's golden locks, Yasha's tanned legs, Clarissa's thin forearms, and the thick green clouds of leaves on gnarled branches as thick as a woman's torso. I repeat, speed 0. Everyone on the ground. Barracuda, do you want me to send you a personal invitation by talking postcard? Only now did I realize that I had strayed quite far from the shore. Meanwhile, the dotted line of red dots marking my comrades in arms on the laser tablet froze along the water's edge. My bad, sir. Looks like the connection is glitching. I quickly turned back and plopped down on the soft sand. What's going on? Why did you stop? I'll fix your glitch. I can see you right down to your last bone. Everything's working fine. The sergeant's exo-armor has an additional screen that displays information about our health and the performance of our simple soldier's exo-armor. It's better not to lie to Goosack, or you might end up under the circular unconscious sabotage in the face of the enemy. This document works like a circular saw in the last war. Zzz, and your head is off your shoulders. The fulcrums are coming, Sergeant Goosack announced. I advise everyone to turn on their full filters and the newbies to shut up. I turned on my filter without being asked twice. Even though I'm a weakling, I know what fulcrums are. As befits true assault crafts, the fulcrums appeared almost silently. Even when they flew right over our asses, I heard nothing but a faint hum. All 3 squadrons of attack aircraft disappeared almost instantly, climbing steeply and turning back after 2 half-barrels, returning to where they had come from. They flew away, freed from the ammunition that made up half their flight weight. It took only a few seconds for the cassettes to generously scatter their bombs. Meanwhile, something shiny flowed out from under the orange domes of the Geological Research Station. It didn't flow, it just seemed to me that it flowed. The filters interfering. In fact, it ran. The notorious Crovern's termites, multi-purpose robots the size of dogs. There was an ambush after all. Maybe the whole forest is swarming with them. Well done, staff officers. You anticipated this and kept heavy aircraft on standby. And on the other side, oh my God, if the forest had been painted on glass and then someone had sprayed hydrofluoric acid on the picture, or if the glass had been thrown into boiling steel, everything I saw flowed rapidly downward, dissolving into a thick purple mist. Then the silhouettes of the trees grew taller. They exceeded their original height by almost half and disappeared into the hot haze. The lake puffed out clouds of steam as if a coal the size of an asteroid had been dropped into it. Melidum chirped and reported that the air temperature was close to critical. Melidum, you see, was forced to activate additional cooling. It felt like liquid helium was being poured directly into my spine. My legs almost gave way. However, very soon I felt like I was in a sauna. The exo-armor freezer was working at full capacity, but even it was struggling. If I had had a raw turkey in my hand, I would have brought a roasted one to the other side of the lake. It's a good thing there was no turkey. They wouldn't have let me eat it anyway, so I would have had to throw it away. And it's good that Steelskin Development is a proven company. I suspect that General Madras Motors' exo-armor would have soured along with its contents. The purple mist fell to the ground surprisingly quickly in black flakes. It coagulated, that is. Water vapor was briskly scattered in all directions by strong gusts of wind. The geological research station was gone. The termites were gone. And so was the forest, completely. The land on which the forest stood had also disappeared. Lake water, rapidly clouding over with heavy caked grains of what had once been forest and soil, filled the new bed. The bed was shallow but spacious. The landscape was hellish, simply hellish. In the recruiter's propaganda video, it would be useful to include words like these. They will show you beauty and kill it before your very eyes. Can you imagine? Right before your eyes.